culture reject and pull that respect. You'll protect what is good. Yeah, we know what is good. Who fucking loves New York? Who is the biggest fan? Who is a fiery cheerleader caught in someone New York foreign land?
Toronto. VK on the beat. Check. I'm in Toronto where you wanna get the city love. I'm from Toronto where you wanna get the city love. I'm in Toronto like we wanna get the city love. My city love me back for my city love.
Welcome to episode 1676 of Toronto Mic'd, proudly brought to you by Great Lakes Brewery, a fiercely independent craft brewery who believes in supporting communities, good times, and brewing amazing beer. Order online for free local home delivery in the GTA. Palma Pasta. Enjoy the taste of fresh, homemade Italian pasta and entrees from Palma Pasta in Mississauga and Oakville. Yes, we are open. An award-winning podcast from Moneris, hosted by FOTML Grego. Silverwax.ca. Use promo code TorontoMike10, TorontoMike10, and save 10%. RecycleMyElectronics.ca. Committing to our planet's future means properly recycling our electronics of the past. Building Toronto Skyline, a podcast and book from Nick Iones, sponsored by Fusion Corp Construction Management Inc. and Ridley Funeral Home, pillars of the community since 1921. Okay, I want to do something completely different, and it begins with a short story. On August 6th, 2008, I received a message through my blog, torontomike.com, from a regular reader. His name is Brian, and here is exactly what he wrote me back in August 2008. Hey, Mike, I wanted to ask you about this song a month ago, but I had to see if I would still like it. Culture Reject Inside the Cinema has really grown on me. I have decided to tell people about it. I heard it on XM52 The Verge. If you have not heard it, I hope you like it too. If you get a minute, tell me what you think. Now, I get many such emails, but I decided to listen to Inside the Cinema from Culture Reject, despite not knowing a single thing about Culture Reject. I listened once, and I really liked it, so I listened again, and here we are almost 17 years later, and I'm still listening. Inside the Cinema from Culture Reject keeps appearing on my various playlists. And I realized earlier this year that I still didn't have any idea who or what a Culture Reject is. I'm just in love with this song that Brian shared with me during the summer of 2008. Then I realized I have a popular podcast and I could use this forum to discover as much as I could about Culture Reject. So in that vein, it gives me great pleasure to welcome Michael O'Connell to Toronto Mic'd. Welcome to Toronto Mic'd, Michael.
Oh, thanks for having me. This is a really nice moment for me.
Well, are you, this is the big question off the top, Michael. Are you Culture Reject?
It has been a really lovely moniker to make music as underneath. I guess I would say it underneath. I'm under this name. Yeah. I mean,
that's a yes.
Yeah, it's a big yes. Yeah. Okay. I could say yes.
I got to make sure, once I had this similar idea that, the first concert I ever attended at the Ontario Place Forum was Chalk Circle. And I'm like, I need Chris Tate from Chalk Circle. And then I had heard through other channels, Chris Tate was now in advertising, like he would be working for an agency. Mm-hmm. So I kind of did this search for like Chris Tate musician agency, and then I found a contact form and I filled it out, and then I booked Chris Tate, and then at the door was a different Chris Tate.
Oh my God.
This happened, yeah. But I eventually did get in a great Chris Tate. He's in a band called the Lazarettes, but it's just,
I know the Lazarettes.
Okay, so there's a Chris really Tate. Great. I believe he's the main guy in the Lazarettes, but it was a great convo, which I winged. I didn't have any prep for it or anything. Like I did the episode and it's a good episode. And then I tracked down the other Chris Tate and I did that. But I need to be so clear before we continue though. When I listen to Culture Reject inside the cinema, I'm hearing your voice.
Yeah, you're hearing that.
I need to find out more about you, like pre-Culture Reject, what it all means. So, like, for example, what does the name Culture Reject, like, where does that name come from?
From my head, but also, like, right around that time, early 2000s, I had just moved from Toronto from Guelph and started working at an organization called Sketchworking Arts. Which is just an arts hub forum initiative for young people living pretty much on the street at that point, or marginalized in different ways, and all the ways that people can be marginalized. I just recognized a lot of resilience in young people that I hadn't really seen. And I saw a lot of people who were, I would say, kind of forgotten, oh, these are just squeegee kids, or it'll be this sort of thing. These sorts of judgments. And I was working with these folks every day. We were making music together. I was doing all sorts of different kind of arts with them. And I was like, oh my God, no, you guys are organized. You guys are so organized. You guys have a very particular way of thinking. It's almost like it's almost like you have your own very particular philosophies. It's almost academic the way that you are seeking an alternative way to live. And I just started to, I don't know, think about who is rejected by culture, who is the dominant culture, what is hegemony, and who gets to sort of claim it, who gets to be rejected, and when those folks are rejected, are they being rejected, or are they actually doing the rejecting? Are they looking for an alternative economy? Are they looking for an alternative way for people to support one another and be in community? Yeah. So that's kind of the basis to that name.
So when do you start using this moniker Culture Reject? What year, do you remember?
It would have been probably 2007. So
Okay.
I had taken a pretty long hiatus from playing music. I played in a band called Black Cabbage for a long time out of Guelph, and we toured all over Canada. And then I started touring a bit solo, and that was all over Canada and also all over Southern Ontario. And eventually I was like, oh my God, I don't know how to do this anymore. Is this all there is? How can I? So I think I was also in this place where and maybe you've interviewed other musicians who've said the same. It's hard when you're constantly having to go to someone else's studio and record there, and just not having that much control over your own production. And so I took maybe 2 or 3 or 4 years off from just making music and performing, and I just kind of dug into production and audio and taught myself things, made a record. And so then I started shopping it around to some people in this record company from the really small startup from Vancouver, White Whale, said, oh my God, we really like this song Inside the Cinema. You keep saying Culture Reject in it. I said, yeah. And they said, why don't you just call yourself Culture Reject?
Okay, so I was going to ask what came first.
Yeah. So
are you name checking yourself? Because Culture Reject is said many times Inside the Cinema.
It's really true. It was some people were like, oh, it's like your Public Enemy song, And I was like, yeah, in a sense, but it was definitely a lyric before it was a name. So yeah, that Ryder Havdale from White Whale, and I think another member of one of the bands in there were like, we think it'd be great if you were called that. So I was like, yeah, I feel like I could roll with that moniker.
Okay, so we're going to crack a Great Lakes beer now because I have so many questions for you, Michael.
Okay.
So glad to have you here. I can't believe you're here.
I'm
Culture
so glad to be
Reject.
here,
Okay,
too.
so we'll count you in. 3, 2. Oh, look at that. Okay, so cheers.
Cheers.
So we're drinking Sunnyside Session IPA, which is the summer brew from Great Lakes Brewery. And this thing came off it was probably brewed last week, okay? This is super fresh.
I love Great Lakes breweries.
Okay, good answer, because I'm going to send you home with some Great Lakes beer. Mm-hmm. Well, there's a pack in front of you right there. Yeah, fresh craft
That's
beer.
beautiful. That's delicious.
No, this is my summer brew because it's a lower alcohol, so I don't start slurring my speech after a couple of cans, which is kind of important when you're recording a podcast. So where did so I have a few more questions. So Black Cabbage, when did you realize you wanted to get into music, and how did you end up in Black Cabbage in Guelph?
Oh, great question. How did I know I wanted to get up in music? Was really young. I played in a trio called Quest in Niagara, when I was probably, I think we started that in grade 5. This is when there's no such thing as YouTube or any kind of idol show or anything like that. It's just, we just said, why don't we play in a band? And about 10 of us started talking about doing that. Only 3 of us decided to do it. And I said, I'll play bass. I don't even know what bass is. So I just started learning how to play the bass by grade 7. We were playing in bars, but weren't allowed to stay in the bar. We just played the bar and then left the bar. It was really in my blood at a very early age. I think when I was 16, I opened for Nash the Slash and FM.
So earlier, now, again, I have to disclose to the listenership that we're recording on a Wednesday, but it's not dropping on a Wednesday. It's probably dropping maybe on a Friday. But just earlier today, you mentioned being too young for the bars, but playing in the bars. That's the story of Rob Pruce from Spoons. Okay, he was 15 years old with Spoons as a keyboardist, younger than the rest of Spoons. And he had a special note to get him into these bars or whatever, so he could play these bars because he was underage. And the reason I'm bringing him up is not because of that, but because he owed me a new closing theme where he puts these Easter eggs, and he couldn't deliver it. And I said, Rob, like, why are you late? And he said because he was busy making music for the new Nash the Slash documentary.
Amazing. Done by Kevin Byrne, who from King Cobb Steely. That's who's, I think, a big part of that documentary.
Okay, possibly. The gentleman I know who's associated is Colin Brunton, who made The Last Pogo for the Garys at the Horseshoe Tavern. And I know he was raising money. He came on this program to raise funds. Okay. And I can tell you, because I'm excited to mention it, is that somebody, a listener of this program, heard him on the show and gave $10,000, and then they got some subsequent grants and stuff, and it got enough money to go ahead with this Nash the Slash doc. So
amazing.
It's in production, and Rob Pruce is helping to make music for it.
Oh, I love it. I love this so much.
Okay, so you're a Nash the Slash head. Were you into FM?
I mean, at that time, I didn't really know anything about them. People were super impressed that we were opening for them in Welland at a big exhibition fairgrounds.
That's Nash the Slash rises again.
What I was really excited about was meeting him backstage without his bandages on, and that was supposedly a really big thing. And I was like, to be honest, none of this meant as much to me then as it does now. Like I was like, oh, that's I love that's part of my come up. I'm a fan of that.
Yeah, it's part of your story. Okay, so this is all happening, and then how do you end up in Black Cabbage?
I go to Guelph University, and
but you're not from Guelph. You just went there for uni. Where are you from?
From St. Catharines.
That's where St. Catharines.
Sort of went. That was my big place to come up, and then I went to Guelph University. Didn't really. I didn't love university first year. I took off. I went on a program called Canada World Youth, and doing that and traveling internationally, I just came home with just a real inspiration to really play music and write music. So I was doing a lot of that, and then I just met these really strange crew of people who I still connect with a lot. But we traveled all over the country. There was 8 of us. In a van. We bought the Bourbon Tabernacle choir van. Had about 500.
Chris Brown's been over.
Oh, lovely person.
Yeah.
Lovely person, Chris Brown.
Sorry, Christopher Hugh Brown. He's rebranding. There's apparently too many Chris Browns.
There really are a lot of Chris Browns. I believe I've played his bar. He owns in Wolf Island. Wolf Island, yeah.
Yeah, he owns that. Is that a hotel?
Yeah, it's a really, really fun little place. I love that
he
spot.
owns that.
And then we toured a lot, and and also I learned a lot about being in a band with 8 people. That's a lot. There was 5 songwriters. There was a lot. I learned a lot, and I learned,
that sounds like Broken Social Scene or something like that.
A little pre-Broken Social Scene, yeah.
That's a lot of people. So you're in Guelph. You're in. I'm going to call them the Cabbage Band. What's the name of this band? Black Cabbage. This is you're in Guelph in a band. And then what brings you to Toronto?
That's a good question. I feel like Guelph was just a bit small for me. Like, it was just getting small. And I guess that can mean so many things. I just felt like I just needed to go. I loved Guelph. I loved the people in Guelph. Right. It had nothing to do with the place itself. It just felt like I just needed a change. Yeah.
I'm trying to think of bands from Guelph. Is Gandharvas from Guelph?
They're from London.
London.
Yeah.
See, showing my ignorance here. Are there any big bands I'm missing from
the Constantines? Definitely.
Of course.
Yeah, the Constantines were from Guelph. One. Yeah. King Cobb Steely was one of the other really big bands from Guelph. Then there's bands like Tamarack. I don't know. They're an older folk band. Jeff Bird is a friend of mine. He's a founding member of the Cowboy Junkies, or was definitely on the Trinity sessions.
Amazing.
Yeah, there's lots of really fabulous musicians from Guelph.
So is this when you take that little hiatus you told me about? Or so you come to Toronto and then you take a break from music?
Yeah.
So post Black Cabbage, you're taking a bit of a break, but then you start, like, I'm just wondering, so you said this Vancouver label heard Inside the Cinema. And if you're listening, you're going to hear Inside the Cinema. Don't worry, in this episode, okay? We're going to hear it. But how did it exist to hear it? Like, what made you record? Like, did you write Inside the Cinema?
Yeah.
So Inside the Cinema is all yours.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you playing the instruments on Inside the Cinema?
Yes.
Okay. So, and soon, in moments, are you willing to dive deeper than you've ever dove before into this song Inside the Cinema?
I can. It might need to be a facilitated conversation, which I think you're doing perfectly for me. So I don't know. I never know how to talk about my music, to be honest, but I'm happy to
hold my
answer
hand.
questions.
You're fulfilling a 17-year quest here. This is 17 years in the making. And I will say, until we made contact, and I can't remember if I found you on Facebook or where I found you. I can't remember anymore. I think it was Facebook, but I actually didn't know whether I was going to find a guy who's in Toronto, or is this guy going to be in Australia? Like, I actually didn't have any sense of who Culture Reject was and where he was. Like, I didn't know you'd be like a guy who could be in the basement coming from Toronto.
Right. Oh.
Like, I didn't know.
Okay.
I knew nothing. So I'm going in cold here, learning about you. So tell me a little bit about writing, and then not specifics, because we'll do that together, but like, what made you get back into the studio and record Inside the Cinema so that it can be heard by this label in Vancouver, I think you said.
Okay. It was a series of experiments trying to just learn how to record myself. So I was working with really like the technology around 2004, where like it's where they started turning like 4 tracks into digital boxes. So you'd have all the faders and you would have this tiny little screen. And I was like, oh my God, I don't know what I'm doing, but I've watched people do this stuff before when I've been in studios with them.
What software were you using?
I think it was a Tascam. It was a Tascam V something. Okay. It was a blue box, okay. And you could record like 100 songs on it.
Okay.
And I just did everything I possibly could, making a ton of mistakes. I mean, even when I hear that recording, I'm like, oh my God, I hear just how like little I knew about production and doing it. But what I was doing I was writing while I was learning how to use these tools, which I started to learn is a really fun way for me to write songs, because at that point, I was always just writing on an acoustic guitar, chord progressions, and I would sing them, and then I'd bring them to other musicians and they would come into parts, and I was like, I have all these parts to songs that I really want to record. And so I started to put all those parts onto the music. I would get a little drum kit and do a little bit of drumming and have a shitty little piano, and I would, do that kind of thing. Sorry.
So no, don't say sorry, because I'm going to break this song into parts.
Great.
So we'll listen to a part.
Okay.
And then you're going to just bury me in information, like in terms of like what you remember about writing it or playing it, like anything.
Okay.
I know. So has anybody ever done such a deep dive into Inside the Cinema with you? And it's okay if they have. I don't need to be the first, but I'm just curious.
I don't know. I don't think so in such an intentional way. For like this song did very well for me. Like I was able to tour. I immediately took off and started touring in like all over Europe and the States for this. And so I've had, definitely, it's been at the forefront of a lot of different interviews and things like that, but this feels specific. This feels different.
So after we talk about it, for the next several hours, then I want a sense of like what doors it opened and how it was received, because I read the email I got in that email. So it sounds like you record this in 07. Am I?
Yeah, about 07. Yeah.
So I get this email in August 08, and he had heard it on XM52.
Yeah.
Which I'm not even 100% sure what that is.
Yeah, I mean, I actually went on The Verge remember going on The Verge and actually
So
performing
you
it.
played it live on The
I played
Verge.
it live on The
okay,
Verge,
so I
yeah.
think that's where Brian heard it.
Yeah. Okay.
And then, because he sent me a file, and now, I mean, I think there was a YouTube link to the performance or something like that, but now we're going back, 17 years. But I'm going to play this, so I'm going to play it in the parts, and we're going to talk about it. And at the end of this episode, I'm going to play it in its entirety for the listenership, okay?
Okay.
So here we go. Inside the Cinema, Culture Reject. I've got Michael O'Connell, a.k.a. Culture Reject, in the studio. Let's listen, Michael. Okay, there's our first part here. We're going to head into the lyrics there. Did that jog any memories? Anything you can share about the composition, the recording of that opening 35 seconds?
Yeah. I kind of fell in love. I just was noodling on my guitar one day and came up with that little bass line. It might be all I can say about that. I mean, I really just loved the conciseness of the loop, and I could play that for quite a while. And
that's the dum dum dum. Because then you have that, and I don't know my music enough to know what I'm hearing where, but that ting 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 ting, that part.
Yeah.
What is that exactly?
That's also a guitar. So I have it's just it starts with a looped guitar. It's both electric guitar. So one is just sort of playing a bass line, and the other starts to just come in with this textured bit of kind of G to E minor.
And at the very, very beginning, it sort of opens with some kind of like a orchestra or something, a symphony.
That is actually not part of the original recording. That would be the audio from the video.
So good point. So the original file I had did not include that symphony.
Right.
And when I was pulling this from YouTube, I'm like, oh, it's a new part.
Yeah, and that was actually like fun little bit of trivia. The director of that video was Peter Dramanis. He was the singer from July Talk.
Yeah, I met them at Humble and Fred's Studios many moons ago.
Nice.
And they're playing a special. In fact, we talked about it on Toast, but they're doing people are covering the Tragically Hip, and there's a benefit for the food bank, and I think this is also for Dave Bookman. In memory of Dave Bookman. So this is all happening. And this is, I think, Stephen Stanley, who used to live on Wolf Island, and his very dear friends with Chris Brown, because when Chris was in the basement, Stephen Stanley was right beside him. Okay. And then Ron Hawkins was on the other side. These are a couple of founders of Lowest of the Low.
Yeah.
But, and Elliot Lefko is the other guy who's promoting this show that I'll be talking about at a later date. And Elliot Lefko brought Nirvana to Toronto for the first time to play Lee's Palace exactly 35 years ago today.
Whoa. Wow. That's a moment.
There you go. There you go. They had a different drummer back then. Okay. So I'm going to play it again. So now that I heard you, so just again, so you're noodling around the guitar, you have this, and the symphony part's added for the video.
Okay.
Not necessarily by you. So this part, not part of your original song. And you can talk over it this time.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
So there's your like bass line there that you.
Yeah. This is like.
And then you add that. So you're playing both parts.
Yeah.
And then See, I liked it right away. Even just this part, I'm like, okay, I'm in. Let's hear where this goes. Okay, so you ready for the second part?
Yeah.
All right, unless you have anything more to add on that first part.
I feel like that's it. I'm gonna just say it's still really fun to play that part. Whenever I perform this song,
Okay, cool.
It's very bouncy.
Yeah, it's fun. Okay, that's why we're talking about it 17 years later here. Okay, second part here.
Here I've got the perfect punch beside you. I search inside your purse. I fund my ideas. You watch and I'll put on some airs. I watch sure that you stare down low inside the cinema.
All right, any thoughts on this second? This is 30 seconds approximately, this
Okay.
segment.
Yeah, I totally remember. I lived, so I mean, this is recorded. I gotta, this is actually bringing up so much now for me,
Good.
but this was recorded on
Mission
College
accomplished.
Street, at 795 College Street. It's where I raised my children. We were on the third floor of a 3-floor walk up. In this building, this is a crazy building. We were renovated from this building, like maybe 7 or 8 years ago. But leading up to that, there was members of the Arrogant Worms that lived there. There was also Casey from Elliot Brood was living in the basement. And I went downstairs. I said, Casey, you got an acoustic guitar I could borrow? I'm just doing some recording today. And he's like, yeah, man, here, take this. So that's Casey's, Casey Laforet, I think his name is. That's his guitar on there. And then like all over that building too were members of Baroness von Sketch. They were, for years working and
Was
writing.
Carolyn Taylor one of them?
Carolyn Taylor lived in that building.
FOTM, Carolyn
Yeah,
Taylor,
yeah.
whose sister's listening right now. Hello to Leslie.
Nice, beautiful. And so it was a building where there was just a lot of creative activity and energy going on. So it's actually just really brought me back to the heart of that.
That's the goal here, Michael. By the way, does anyone ever call you Mike, or it's got to be Michael?
It's interesting. About maybe 10 years ago, I said, hi, I'm Michael. And then they immediately said, hey, everyone, this is Mike. And I said, actually, no, it's Michael.
Because Mike fixes my car.
I mean, Mike is good. And I was Mike for a long time. But I was like, I think I'm just Michael.
Did you just grow out of Mike? Maybe I'll do that one day. Although I feel like I don't think you're much older than me. But and when you met me, you're like, I know you. Like you recognize me, right?
Yeah, totally.
Has it come? Do you have any idea where yet, or no?
I don't think I know, but I mean, like, I don't know what you were doing before this podcast. I think I must have seen this podcast before.
Oh, maybe you saw a
years.
clip on, I don't know, Instagram or
Yeah.
YouTube or something.
Yeah.
Maybe you saw a photo or something.
Yeah.
Okay, who knows? Elliot Brood, they had a song. I can hear in my head right now, but I got to get the title, that I also stuck on playlists for years and years and years. The
Okay.
Bridge.
Oh, I don't.
Elliot Brood had a song. I think it was called The Bridge.
Okay.
I think so. But Elliot Brood Bridge. I feel like, it is called The Bridge. It's from 2005.
Okay.
And much like Culture Reject Inside the Cinema, that's a song I couldn't get out of my head, and it kept appearing on playlists of mine. And so shout out to Elliot Brood and The Bridge.
I love it.
Another,
Okay.
maybe I gotta get them over here just to do like an hour on The Bridge. Okay, if this
Yeah.
goes well, this is like the prototype.
Love it.
But it's going great so far here. Okay, so the lyric. Anything to say? Because now we hear your lyrics in this second segment here.
I do remember. I'm still sort of stuck in the production of this in some ways. So this was mixed by a really fabulous engineer, producer, engineer and mixer named Andy McGoffin, who runs House of Miracles out of Cambridge. And I just remember he just listened to the two vocals I had, because I doubled the vocals. You maybe could tell that there's a layering there. And I don't, some people do that in a very specific way. I just sort of threw two vocals on. So it makes my voice sound thicker and
Well,
better. So-
Nirvana, Butch Vig did that to Nirvana. as well.
Exactly too. And I think maybe I even knew that. I was like studying how.
Probably saw the same whatever and much more music thing I saw, or much
Right.
where he showed how he doubled them. It's like, oh, you can do that? Okay.
And I remember Andy just he had both of them up, and he just goes, I don't really know what to do with this second vocal. So he found a way to just sort of tuck it in and make it sound good. But I appreciated that moment.
Okay, so we're doing number 2 again.
Okay.
Like I said, this is very thorough. Okay, so now that we heard you talk,
I've got the
and if anything you want to say over it this time.
Okay, I'm remembering the very first time I performed this in France, and there was
This song got you to France.
Yeah, and I just remember I started to sing, and I realized that there was about 10 or 15 people in this club that were singing. So I just stopped singing, and they just kept singing, and I was like,
Wow.
it was like a real beautiful episode, and yeah.
You ready for the next 30 seconds?
Ready for
So
it.
they're almost exactly 30-second clips, although the final
Great.
one I let go for a minute. But here we go.
Okay.
Come culture reject, expect respect. You protect what is good. Yeah, we know what is good. Yeah, we know what is good.
So there's where you said, it's you say culture reject in the song,
Yeah.
and this is before you were using that moniker.
Yeah, that was it. So in this moment, maybe lyrically, I could dive in a little bit. This is sort of where I was really feeling, I think, a real privilege. You know, it's funny when you work in social services, when you work in any kind of situation, as a mentor or as a counselor or these kind of things. It's just really easy to feel that you're there as an expert and you're there to help people. And I think when you're really open to those experiences, you recognize how much privilege you have to be in those spaces and how much you're actually learning, what an exchange it is to work. So I was mentioning just working with young people, facing a lot of different economic and social barriers, a lot of transphobia and racism and things like that, and working with these young people. And I was learning a lot from them. And I was like, people really are hard on you guys. And you're facing a lot of poverty. And the way that the values and the principles that you're upholding around community is amazing to me. So that's really it's kind of the essence of the culture reject. You protect what is good. And then as a group, we know what is good,
Beautiful. So now we hear that again. Again, this time you can talk over it if you like. Now you got the idea what's going on here.
Come culture reject, expect respect. You protect what is good.
That ding, ding, ding.
Yeah, it's an Indonesian kind of. It's like a xylophone, but it's got 5 tones on it, and it's not even in tune. It's just slightly out of tune. But my now wife had it hanging on her wall, and I'm like, what does this sound like? And
Wow.
it just.
Because to my ears, again, I'm not a musician, but I was like, oh, that sounds like a xylophone. That's exactly what I thought. It goes like ding, ding, ding. And it's used so kind of effectively to kind of offset the whole thing. Okay, cool. You ready for the next 30 seconds?
Yeah.
This is fun, right? We're having a good
This
time.
is really fun for me, yeah.
Okay. Here we go.
I won't judge, but what's the effect when we move away from it? I'll purge what's inside my chest. Hold me if I can't handle it. I'll watch while you put on some airs. I love that Bill Murray man down low inside the cinema.
Okay.
Wow, so much is coming up to me right now. Okay, so I just
Spill it into this mic.
couple of shout outs. So one, Bradley Foto is on the trumpet. Bernard Padron from Venezuela, amazing saxophone player, is doing some horns there. And then I totally forgot my friend Jake Charkey from somewhere in Vermont is playing. That's not a bass; it's a cello. He's playing that bass line on a cello. So that's kind of fun. And what was the other part that really struck me?
Well, I can play it quieter, and then you can just talk over it.
Sure,
when you hear
yeah.
it. Okay, here we
Okay.
go again.
I won't judge, but what's the effect when we
Okay, this is really a part where I was like, oh, I'm learning so much from people. And this part is all about a conversation I was having with a young person named Cam. And Cam was the first person to introduce me to sort of gender neutral language. Started talking to me a lot about trans people. And that was a huge education for me. The hardest thing I ever had to do was write a letter of recommendation for Cam. I remember at this time, Cam said, "Hey, would you?" Or I said I wanted to nominate them for a photography award from Gallery 44, and they said, "Okay, that's fine. How are you going to write that how are you going to write that letter of recommendation for me when I use they, them pronouns? I'm like, who uses they, them pronouns? What is they, them pronouns? I have no idea what that means. And it was the hardest thing I had ever done at that point in my life, was writing a letter of recommendation for someone in the third person without using he or she. And it blew my mind, and it actually created new neural pathways in my brain. And that was it. Is like, I won't judge, but what's the effect when we move away from it? When I was just moving away from all this comfort in just everything I was thinking about life up until that point. And then it just sort of rocked my world. Yeah.
Okay, well, the song's rocking my world. Okay, so
thank you.
This next segment goes a whole 40 seconds, okay?
Perfect.
So broke this into 40. Here we go.
Come culture reject and pull that respect. You protect what is good. Yeah, we know what is good. Who fucking loves New York? Who is the biggest fan? Who is a fiery cheerleader caught in someone New York foreign land?
So, Michael, as a listener, so I feel like we build up to this segment here, okay? So you're building, we're in the groove, but this is actually the 40 seconds. I think that who fucking loves New York? What is that lyric exactly? Who fucking loves New York?
Yeah.
Okay, I feel like that's the hard. Like once you get there, it's like that's like sort of the apex.
Yeah, it wasn't intending to be that way. The song was just building towards this. It had a lot to do with. This is a really strangely autobiographical song in a lot of ways, or it's from my story, which includes a lot of other people at the time, and it was definitely about being in Toronto at this time, and I felt like I was noticing that Toronto's identity was starting to. I just felt like we were we didn't really know who we were, and everyone was started going. Yeah, it's starting to feel more like New York, and I just started recognizing a lot of people wearing Yankees hats all the time. There's a lot of New York paraphernalia, and so it's kind of a bit of a dig. It's like, who fucking loves New York? Like, who is its biggest fan? Who's a fiery cheerleader caught up in some un-New York foreign land? And which was, for me at the time, I guess, Toronto, because Toronto didn't feel like New York to me. It felt like Toronto.
And in 2008, that is precisely the part that struck home. And it's funny talking to you about this in 2005, where I feel like what we're in mid-April here, and the bulk of this calendar year has been like, we're not fucking New York. Like, we're Toronto. We have a unique identity. This country is a sovereign nation. We're not the United States. We'll never be the United States. Like, you were ahead of the curve on this sentiment.
Thanks for saying.
There you go.
Yeah, there's a lot in there. I actually have to also, I think I got to acknowledge fully that so this clapping part, I really.
The clapping. I'm going to ask you about the clapping. Yeah.
I love the clapping. The clapping shows up a lot at concerts as well, as people know the pattern. My kids really know this pattern well.
How many kids you got?
I have two kids.
How old are they now?
They're 25 and 26. And they've, all through this time, they grew up in that apartment in Toronto, and they all through this time. I learned that if my kids were humming any melody of mine, any kind of time, anytime they were singing a lyric of a song that I was developing, they would right away go, I would say right away to myself, okay, I'm going to pursue this song. If my kids are catching onto it, if it's catchy for them, then I'm going to just do it. And I remember them always really appreciating this song a lot.
Yeah. No, that's a fantastic. I'm going to play it again though.
Okay.
And then anything you want to say over top of this here.
Come culture reject and pull that respect. You protect what is good. Yeah, we know what is good. Who fucking loves New York?
There's no drums on this, song. Like I find it interesting when I listen back. Like I think I put drums on everything now. I should remember just how a song can be held together by claps and a little pounding. There is one drum, it's a floraton, but that's what you're hearing right now. But and a tambourine, and a bit of washy acoustic guitar can kind of hold. That's the thing I like about this song. It's tender. It's a tender song. It's a. Also the clapping it may have been a bit inspired by Musha Boom by Feist.
Oh, sure.
There was a really beautiful clapping pattern in the end. I was like, oh, clapping kind of works in a song, you know? And I think
I love hearing the inspirations too. And it's all part of this journey here. So I was breaking them into 30-second clips, but I realized this last minute's going to be intact here. Okay, so we're going to do 57 seconds to take us home. You ready, Michael?
I'm ready for it.
When I get home, I wanna get stoned. Make myself food, make myself good. Make myself good, make myself good. I wanna get home, I wanna get stoned. Make myself food, make myself good. Make myself good, make myself good. Make myself come culture reject. Expect respect. You protect what is good. Yeah, we know what is good. Come culture reject. Full respect. Do not pretend to love. You will just get depressed.
This is the video part, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so that's because I pulled it from video.
Hilarious if I had to put my own applause into this.
So that opening symphony and that final applause were added for video. Okay.
Yeah.
But tell me about this closing minute here.
Yeah. Okay. Like it's, I mean, actually what really, I'm trying to think of, what really comes to mind is when we did shoot the video, we shot the entire thing backwards. So the whole last perfect 40 seconds that you clipped here was, I had to learn all of the lyrics. I had to learn how to say them all backwards. So I practiced saying them all backwards, and they shot it backwards so that we could do this thing where, like I think I spit out an apple backwards, but then when we played it forwards, you know.
Well, this is what the Far Side did. Do you remember the Far Side? It was a hip hop.
Oh, I remember.
Group.
Yeah.
They had the video
Yeah,
where
the
they
Far
did
Side.
it all backwards. Yeah.
Okay. That's one thing that artists have to be always afraid of, is that, you know, I've got this great idea for a video or for this or that, and then it turns out someone else has totally done it.
So you want to play it again, and then anything else that strikes you, and then I've got some follow-up questions, as you can imagine.
Yeah.
What's been happening.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can easily say that this section here is one of my favorite things I've ever written. I think there's a simplicity to it. I think I'm just speaking my truth in this moment, and it's resonated a lot with people. I really love when people talk to me about this part in the song for them. People scream it at shows, which is always nice too.
You know, the whole song is only 3 minutes and 30 seconds, but it's all killer, no filler, man.
Oh,
Like, it's
thank you for saying.
Not a dull moment. And we broke it into 6 parts here. You have 2 adult children. I actually have 2 adult children as well.
Okay.
Will your 2 adult children listen to this episode of Toronto Mike?
I think I hope so. Phoebe and Isaac are fabulous fans, but also huge inspirations and supporters for my music, and I hope they do, because they should know how much I love and appreciate them.
So I want to understand, to contextualize, like, what did Inside the Cinema mean in the catalog of Culture Reject? Like, where does it, is it the most talked about song, the biggest, I don't know, I'll put hit in quotations because what the heck is a hit or whatever.
Yeah.
But maybe tell me a bit about like the reaction and the doors it opened, and then what this song did for you.
Everywhere from, you know, it was amazing going to Paris and just having an artist, like somebody sort of hiding in the darkness of this club I was setting up in, and he goes, "I've been waiting for you." In fact, this happened a couple of times. This guy from Brooklyn he was from Brooklyn, but we were in Paris, and he just goes, "I've been waiting for you." And I go, "What? What?" He goes, "Yeah, I've been in Paris for a month, and I just looked and found out you're here, and I love." And so, like, there was just these little moments. I played at Iceland Airwaves in Reykjavik, and this kid from Estonia, same thing. He's like, he found me after the club, and I was like, "Wow, there's a lot of pot smoking around here." And I just came out, and this kid just goes, "I've been waiting to see you." So there was just this really, I think it captured a lot of people at the time, especially people who weren't into big, huge pop hits, but they, you know, had a bit of an underground feel to it. And
well, you never know who's listening and who it's going to resonate with, right?
Exactly.
Because like I carried this around for 17 years.
Amazing.
Like, and,
I love that.
Yeah, and it's all true, obviously. This song, and I didn't know anything about it. Like, and I actually now, as I speak to you, I don't know why I never took time to do a little research and find out what I was listening to. I just had this song called Inside the Cinema from someone called Culture Reject that I just fucking loved.
I love that.
Carried on for 17 years. And you were in my backyard this whole time.
Yeah.
Like this was recorded on college.
Yeah.
Like it could have been recorded in Paris, France. Like I didn't know.
Right.
Like this guy didn't say, "Hey, this is a local artist or a GTA artist or whatever." He's just like, "You'll dig this," and I listened and I said, I just held on to it.
I love
Like it's
that.
a bit of a mind blow. A lot of these artists who come in the basement here would be excited if they got to Paris, Ontario with their music. You got to Paris, France.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel grateful for that.
So how did people discover this song?
That's a good question. I think XM satellite radio was a huge boost for me. I'm trying to think of a few other places it may have shown up. It was definitely it was on a TV show, a global show called The Best Years. I don't even think I ever saw it. It played in the background, but I definitely I got some SoCan checks for that.
Okay, so there was a show that I never heard of that show either. So
Yeah.
a show had this in the background.
Yeah, and it was in competition. It was in competition with Feist's 1, 2, 3, 4 for that.
The Apple?
The
ad?
Apple, the Apple ad.
Whoa.
Yeah.
We're bearing the lead here. That campaign made Feist. Like, I mean, Feist's a fantastic artist.
Yeah.
Other than Gord Downey,
Thanks a
Feist
lot,
is the
Feist.
only human being who is sang lead for the Tragically Hip. Do you know that? In the history of the Tragically Hip,
Okay.
Feist is the only human not named Gordon Downey
Wow.
to sing lead for that band.
Wow.
It's big.
Yeah, that is really big.
And Feist did her. I believe she made that album in France.
She did with Gonzalez, with Chili Gonzalez.
You're right. And we talked about Broken Social Scene earlier.
Yeah.
And that collective, it's all coming full circle here today. So it was like considered that song, and it, I could hear it as part of a like in my mind as I visualize. It would have been perfect. Like, does that frustrate you?
You know what? I have just learned that success. Oh my God, success is I mean, this is successful. I'm sitting here with you. This to me is a beautiful moment in what I would call the success of my career. So
That's amazing.
And I'm really I'm grateful for everywhere I've been able to tour. So in these moments, like what life would have been like. Would have just been different. I had that.
It's a wonderful life.
Yeah.
What would the world be like without Inside the Cinema?
Yeah, and I kind of love that Feist, hit a big moment with that. I think, yeah.
Shout out to Leslie
She's awesome.
Feist. Yeah, well, I mean, she's great. But you're great. This is great. So I need to know what happened after Inside the Cinema. Like, I need to know what happened in the next 17 years that led us to today.
Oh goodness, yeah. I can. I don't know how much time we have, but I'll give the Cole's notes, as my sister would say.
Okay, now I'm actually thinking you're going to do that. I want the Cole's notes of everything since Inside the Cinema.
Okay.
But I think I'm going to give you a few gifts quickly here.
Oh, amazing.
And then we're going to do that. Okay, so I've already given you the beer.
Yeah, the beers. Thank you. I mean, I just organically love Great Lakes. I always look for Great Lakes breweries. They're delicious.
Well, they're fiercely independent, and that's all brewed right here in Southern Etobicoke. And they have a fine podcast called Between Two Fermenters. But I'm going to shout out another fine podcast called Life's Undertaking, and that's from Brad Jones at Ridley Funeral Home.
Okay.
And this measuring tape is courtesy of Ridley Funeral Home.
I'll be using that.
And I'm going to shout out a podcast called Building Toronto Skyline from Nick Iones. He's a proud sponsor of this show. And there's a great episode about the CN Tower turning 50. The CN Tower turned 50 years old this month.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And we talked about it on Building Toronto Skyline. And there's a website I'm going to tell you about called recyclemyelectronics.ca. And if
Okay.
you have old cables, old devices, old electronics,
I have some in my car.
well, don't throw it in the garbage.
Okay. Well, we never do. We always have a little box going, and then we find. But that's
okay,
good.
so this
We'll
is where
find
you go.
those
You go to
folks.
recyclemyelectronics.ca, put in your postal code,
Okay.
and then you'll find out where to drop it off to be properly recycled.
Perfect.
Here's some new electronics. This is a wireless speaker from Inaris.
This is awesome.
Yeah, we're warming up here. Now, that wireless speaker, you can listen to anything you want on that, but you must promise me you'll check out Season 8 of Yes, We Are Open, which is an award-winning podcast from Inaris,
Okay.
and it's hosted by FOTML Grego, who's a heck of a singer himself.
Okay.
Have you, did Culture Reject, did Inside the Cinema ever take you to Regina?
Yes. Oh, no. I went to Regina before. I didn't really tour as much as Culture Reject. So no, it did not.
But
take
you've
me
been to
Regina.
Regina.
I've been to Regina. I've played there a few times, yeah.
Okay, did you have a good experience in Regina?
We busked for 3 hours in the afternoon. Black Cabbage busked for about 3 hours in the afternoon. We were all angry at each other, hungry, poor, well, at least not had no money at the time. And then
Right.
we played to no one that night at the bar.
Not the best experience.
Yes, we had a good time.
But
Formative.
don't worry, this is not brought to you by the Regina Tourism Board or anything, so you can be very honest with me. But Al Grego went to Regina, and he sat down with Ashley Donald, the owner of Basket Cases. This is a prominent gift basket store in Regina, and Ashley shared her inspiring journey of buying and running the business, discussing her origins, her struggles, and her future outlook. So this fantastic episode of Yes, We Are Open is part of season 8, and it's available now.
Okay.
I'm
going to listen to that.
You're going to listen to that. Last but not least, do you enjoy driving a clean automobile, a clean car?
Yes.
Okay, and it's a pain in the ass, right? So if cleaning is a hassle, well, you're making it a hassle, Michael. The people at Silver Wax are going to help you out. They make pro-grade auto care and cleaning technology easy for everyone to use. They got kits for beginners, experts, or professionals. Everything you need. You go to silverwax.ca, use the promo code TorontoMike10, TorontoMike10. That saves you 10%. But you don't actually have to do that right now because I am giving you, Mr. Culture Reject, a robust kit for cleaning the interior and exterior of your car. That huge bucket, plus the 2 spray bottles. I'm telling you, effortless cleaning of the car. It's going to be spotless. You're going to love driving it, and that's yours to take home.
Well, that's super generous and
better than a Juno, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna when it's gleaming, I'll think of you.
That's what I want to hear. So now I want to hear that the Coles Notes, and I'm glad you said Coles Notes because some people say Cliff's Notes. Cliff's Notes, that's the American copy of the Coles Notes. The Coles Notes came first, and then an American company copied that idea, and I think they licensed it, so they didn't steal it, but they called it Cliff's Notes. So whenever I hear Cliff's Notes, I know it's an American, and when I hear Coles Notes, I know it's a Canadian. You're a Canadian. Please tell me what's happened since Inside the Cinema.
Okay. Well, since Inside the Cinema, I started touring. I was like, I think I'm going to be a touring musician. And at that time too, like I was selling a lot of records on Apple Music, when Apple Music was a place where you had to pay for music, not a streaming site.
Like 99, maybe that was American, 99 cents.
Yeah, it was 99 cents for a song. And actually, to be honest, that actually was really great. I was making money. I thought this is going to be amazing. So I was just really loving life. I was touring a lot in the States and in Europe and throughout Canada. And then I got picked up by a very small and loving French label out of Metz, France, just along the German border, called Specific Recordings. And they were like, we would really love to release your music. We're only going to release music on vinyl. But we would love it if you could be on our label. And I was like, absolutely, I would love to do that. So I'm still with them, and I go back to France quite a bit, at least every other year. And so I put out a couple of records on vinyl through them. You can find them at culturereject.ca or blah, blah, blah on all the things. And, And since then, also, I moved out of Toronto. I moved out of that college house. I think I mentioned that we were rent-evicted from that. We could talk about that.
So what does that mean? They just jacked up the rent where you couldn't afford it anymore?
Well, no, it's a little thing that landlords learned how to do, which is I'm not making a blanket. All landlords are bad, but it was a thing where if you just wanted to get rid of people, they were trying to sell the building, or they were buying the building actually, and so as they bought it, they said, we're going to be doing enough renovations that you have to move. And so there's this idea that's the reno part of Renovicted. The second part is that you would have to but you can return. That's the law. Like once the renovation is done, you can be returned. And we knew this was never going to happen. So there was developers that always got rid of the people that were living there because our rent, honestly, like I think I can do the numbers. Can I do the numbers quick?
Yeah,
$1,200 a month College Street, three bedroom.
How long ago?
This was in 2014 was the day.
Wow.
So we weren't, and they did the work. They moved new people in, and the rent went up to $4,300 a month.
I read about this in the Toronto Star.
Yeah, that was us.
Right, because I remember
Yeah.
taking note when Carolyn Taylor was coming over.
And Carolyn and I and Aurora, and we were all
Yes.
fighting that together. Yeah.
What a wild.
A lot of full circle business happening here.
Well, if I may, you got fucked.
Yeah, we totally. But to be honest, there's so many more people who got way more fucked, who had way less resources than we had to fight it, and way less privilege. Frankly, it was much different than a lot of racialized.
But still,
folks
you
in
still got
Parkdale.
fucked.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
for the 3-bedroom in that location, which is fantastic,
Yeah.
$1,200.
Yeah, and we
It's
were
the
like,
good
we'll
old
pay
days.
more. Yeah, we're like, we'd pay more. We know we're getting a good deal. We'll pay more. And they're like, no, there's no way you're going to pay what we can get for it. So
It's like
yeah.
they almost quadrupled that rent or whatever.
Yeah, they did. They more than quadrupled it. It was 4,300.
So between marriages.
Oh, sorry, you're right. No, it was more. It was less than quadruple.
but still,
Yeah.
my math skills are okay, but not
better
as
than
sharp
mine.
as
Right now. This beer.
But I
Is
know
great.
between marriages, so I had a marriage, and then there's a matrimonial home, which I could only afford because I bought it in the 90s.
Yeah.
And then left that home, and then I rented for a couple of years before I bought this place with my wife Monica, and about $1,250 for a 2-bedroom, but not like we're talking like Eglinton and Martin Grove. Like we're nowhere near College Street in that cool hood here, right?
Yeah.
And I felt like that was a pretty sweet deal, but of course I'm nowhere near the the downtown or that neck of the woods. But now I don't know how people live in this city anymore. Like I don't
Yeah.
even know. Like you're living in the city.
So this is the other thing, was when we just finally saw the writing on the wall, and we were still fighting it, but we were like, so we managed to move. We moved up to Meaford, Ontario.
Okay, that's like that's way up there.
Yeah, it's like
Meaford.
over 2 hours.
That's on Georgian Bay, right?
Yeah, we're right on Georgia Bay.
Yeah,
Like
I know
I have not looked back. Like that was a fantastic.
So, are you
choice.
going there after this?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so but you were downtown for another purpose, right?
Yeah.
That's why it's all coming
Yeah.
back to me now. I was gonna. Please don't tell me you came from Meaford for
Yeah.
this, because I would have done it at a different time. But you were already downtown.
I was
Okay.
already downtown, yeah, or west of downtown.
Dude, that's a long way from Toronto. So what's it like in Meaford?
It's beautiful. Meaford is a gorgeous place. Like it's
Is it beautiful in the winter?
I mean, I love winter, and so you get full on winter there. Like winter, it's a punishing snow belt. But again,
It's
I love
probably
it.
snowing there today.
It could be like
like it's like cold here.
yeah.
And I'd say between like 0 and 5 degrees or whatever. And I'll bet you got snow up in Meaford.
It's very, very possible. It's not impossible for sure.
But
yeah.
artists like yourself, I mean, there was, I guess because we're similar vintage, but there was a time when the artists like yourself could afford to live like you did in Toronto
yeah.
and make art, and you got,
And I think
now
of just
you're
that
in Meaford.
building. I just think of that building alone, and if artists can afford to live places, art can happen. People can make. Baroness von Sketch. They all said, if we did not have that apartment, we never would have been able to just spend time making this.
Right.
Yeah. But and moving to Meaford, it was a great choice. I love where I live, and I think it's allowed me to actually be even more creative in a lot of ways, just to have that kind of space. But it's also I've been lucky to sort of get exciting work in things that I do. And
So what do you do other than Culture Reject? What else you got going on?
So I'm for a lot of years I did film carpentry. So I picked up some carpentry skills, and I use that every once in a while. And but for the most part, I'm what's called an artist facilitator. So I use arts, primarily music, to go into different kind of either primarily classrooms. I do a lot of classroom work. So for instance, I just was in Toronto today working with about 4 different classes, grades 5s and 6s. And we're focusing on social change and songwriting. So,
So much of what you do reminds me of Rob Pruce, who I mentioned earlier, who's working on Nash the Slash, because him and his wife, and they're in New York, they're in Queens, but that's what they do. They part of what they do is they work with students in classes and about doing music and etc. So very similar.
Yeah.
Okay, good for you. Now, before we say goodbye, anything else on your mind? Because the way I want to close is I just want us together, and you can talk over it or just listen, but we're going to listen to the whole thing together.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
So Again, it does have that opening and closing from the video, which is not necessarily part of the song, but we've now established that. So this will be 3 minutes and 43 seconds. The entirety of Inside the Cinema, a song that I've been totally digging for 17 years, and now I've had the pleasure of meeting the man behind Culture Reject. This is a big deal for me. I can't wait to take a photo with you by Toronto Tree. So any final thoughts before we listen together?
Thanks for just highlighting this song. It was a huge vehicle for me and to live the life that I have, and it reminds me of all the people that I want to celebrate and who I do celebrate, who were part of my come up.
Okay, here we go, Michael. You ready?
Yeah.
Together, here we go. In its entirety, Inside the Cinema by Culture Reject.
Search inside your purse, I found my ideas. You watch and I'll put on some airs. I watch to make sure that you stare down low inside the cinema.
Shout out to once I learned it's a lot when you commit yourself to a celebrity in a song. So when I say I love that Bill Murray man, which I always did, and Gina Davis came out and said, well, he's kind of a prick. Right? And so I've been in concert I've been singing I'm a Gina Davis fan.
That's great. Oh man, do they love this song in New York or what?
I had some fun with it in Brooklyn and Manhattan. Yeah.
Stone, make myself food, make myself good, make myself good, make myself good. I wanna get home, I wanna get stoned, make myself food, make myself good, make myself good, make myself good, make myself. Come Culture Reject, expect respect. You protect what is good, yeah, we know what is good. Come Culture Reject.
And that brings us to the end of our 1676th show. Go to torontomike.com for all your Toronto Mike needs. Much love to all who made this possible. Again, that's Great Lakes Brewery, Palma Pasta, Moneris, Silver Wax, RecycleMyElectronics.ca, Building Toronto Skyline, and Ridley Funeral Home. See you all Monday when I'm talking with Jack Mesley, an iron worker who helped build the CN Tower 50 years ago. We'll go back in time 50 years. See you all then.